Our woman in focus today is a CEO of Inspire Health, looks after people who have diseases like cancer. Her name is Loveena Chera, and she's our woman in focus today. Let's find out what makes her tick. You're most welcome in our program. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
So, when I found out about the work that you do, cancer is something that everybody goes through, right? 6 degrees of separation in a way, isn't it?
Well, usually it's not even 6 degrees because
Wow.
1 in 2 people almost in Canada are going to be diagnosed in their lifetime. So if you think about that,
Yeah.
then everybody is touched in some way.
That's right.
If not themselves, a loved one or a friend.
I lost my sister last year
Oh, no,
to
I'm
cancer.
so sorry.
And it was like, none of our family has a history in that. And so it's a disease that baffles everybody. And so much research has been done. So let's talk about Inspire Health. What does Inspire Health
So
do?
Inspire Health provides holistic supportive care services to cancer patients and their loved ones. So we don't treat cancer. That's what BC Cancer is there for.
Right.
What we do is provide the wraparound services. So everything that supports somebody's physical and emotional health. So we believe in that mind, body, spirit connection.
Right.
So we have clinicians that support that through one-on-one consultations and also through group programming. So we have supportive care physicians, counselors, exercise therapists, dietitians, and we have about 20 classes a week. A lot of it is done online, so it's accessible for people. Everything from art therapy to yoga to meditation to qigong, all sorts of programming. And
So does it prolong the life? Does it make it
great
better?
question. Yeah, so the research shows that supportive care services like this actually improve patient outcomes. And also, they reduce that stress that's on the healthcare system. So, oncologists have more time to actually talk to a patient about their treatment. They can rely on us to support the other things.
Right.
And that means, there's less hospitalizations, less emergency room visits.
Right.
So us being a community-based organization, we're a nonprofit, it's a very cost-effective way to support the healthcare system.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in this?
Oh, quite by accident. It's I always tell people that it's been a passion project because my background isn't in healthcare.
No.
My background really isn't in nonprofit either. So I've had my entire career has been, outside of that.
Right.
And, I think my passion for this type of work started when I worked for a very large multi-billion-dollar company managing huge businesses. And on the side, I was sitting on the board for Children's Wish Foundation. And even though, I was putting in 14-hour days at work, every time I forced myself to go do the work with the Children's Wish Foundation, I felt more energized and it actually filled me up. And I did that for a number of years. And then I had some close family members and friends go through not very good cancer journeys. And I remember sitting with a woman who I'd just been introduced to. We had a coffee. I was actually interested in her career and her life because I could see myself being her in maybe 10 or 15 years. And she was consulting and doing all this amazing work. And right at the end of the coffee, we were about to leave. And she said, I'm the chair of this organization, and I think you would be perfect for it. You are nothing at all of what we're looking for on paper. And so then I started thinking about it. We started having conversations, and I might remember my husband finally looking at me one day, and he's like, you keep talking about this Inspire Health. He's like, you have to just go do it. So it's been a real passion project.
Wow.
And it's given me the ability to take all of my years of marketing and business experience and, treat the organization from that perspective. And it's allowed us to really grow. We have centers right now in Vancouver, Victoria, Kelowna. We just opened in Kamloops. We're really wanting to support Surrey because it's growing so quickly. You know, you started with your story about your mom, and what I find is that, you know, in our culture, it's not something that's really talked about openly.
No, we don't.
Right? So the support is even harder to get because I don't know if there's some shame around it, but you know, even in my own family, I've seen that where it's like people don't want to share or tell, and so you know, we want to make sure that we bring these services to Surrey and the Fraser Valley. Make sure that we're understanding some of those cultural issues.
You mentioned not very good kind of cancer. So cancer has got maybe different layers, good, bad, worst, terrible. No cancer is good cancer.
That's right. And I think that the way people experience it is different, right? For somebody who, there is no good cancer. Like when you hear those words, you have cancer, you don't hear anything else.
No, you don't.
So, so that's what we're there for. So we support patients with any type of cancer, any stage of cancer, right from that moment that they're diagnosed, all the way through treatment and beyond treatment.
Right.
And there's no referral that's required. All of our services are free. You know, and our goal is to reach as many patients as we can.
You mentioned that your husband, you know, coaxed you to look into it. So I want to talk to you about your life as to how you got to that point where your husband would say to you, I think you've been talking about this for quite some time. Go into it. Where were you born?
I was actually born in India, in Jalandhar, and we came to Canada when I was quite young. I was 4.5, my brother was 9. My father had already been in Canada for 2 years. Back then, usually, you know, that was normal.
A guy would come first and then bring the family.
So we came 2 years later, and I was 4.5, and, you know, my father left shortly afterwards. So it was just my mom and my brother and I, and you know, I often think if that was me back then in those days, in that situation, if that was my mom, I probably would have gotten on the next plane and gone back home.
I want you to be there and relate that story to me, but let's take a short break and come back. Loveena is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Loveena Chera is our Woman in Focus today. So we were talking about your father has been here, and then you guys come, and then he leaves. He goes back home?
No, they separated. Yeah, and back then, you know, my mom, she's my hero. She was here, didn't know the language. We didn't have any other family, and she decided to stay because she wanted my brother and I to have a better future.
Wow.
And so it was just the three of us. And, you know, and back then there was a lot of racism that we faced. And there was also, you know, a divorced woman back then in our culture was also ostracized.
Yes, of course.
So it was very, I think, an isolating experience. So we grew up, just the three of us. You know, and my mom she was a teacher back home, back in India. And so she really believed in the importance of education, and she did all sorts of things to, you know, make
Upgrade
sure.
her.
Well, she was there to support us, but no, she did odd jobs to make sure that we got by.
Yeah, because she wouldn't have gotten a job as a teacher here.
No. So, but, you know, we always went to school, and I had, you know, maybe only a couple of pants, but they were always clean, and you know, it was important to her that we looked respectable going to school. But it was tough those days. And, you know, I think it taught a lot about resilience. And I think it was probably harder on my brother. He was a little bit older.
Right.
So he had to kind of step up and be, you know,
the man of the
house. So that was, I think, difficult. But, you know, she raised us to be strong.
Wow.
And to not give up and to strive for big things. And I remember my, you know, brother had ended up having a very successful career as a mortgage broker. And, you know, he bought his first house when he was young. And then I remember I bought my first house when I was I think 30. And so those were big accomplishments.
For sure. I mean, and
Yeah.
also immigrant parents and immigrant children are very resilient, and they have to have a fire in their stomach to fight for
Yes.
what they really believe in. And usually they are successful.
Yeah.
And they are way more successful than people who are born and brought up here.
Because I think that there's this reality
Yeah.
that you can't fail,
Yeah.
right?
And you cannot fail.
You cannot fail because there's no safety net.
True.
And so you are driven to succeed. And sometimes I think when I was younger, I was probably driven more by the fear of failing than I was at wanting to succeed, if
Right.
that makes any sense.
Yeah, it
because
does.
I didn't want
No.
to go back to having nothing.
Right.
But, at some point that flipped. So,
Now, meeting your partner, children who are of divorced parents usually have a very different sense about marriage and how that should work. Did that affect you at all?
well, we've been together for almost 30 years. So I would like to say no. And he's always been incredibly supportive of my
How did
career.
you meet him?
At work. I was a stockbroker at the time. That was one of my little career paths. I was always in these jobs and industries that were very, very male dominated. And I remember, going into this brokerage, and I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, and I did it because I was tired of also, working honestly for men that had their own agendas.
Yes.
It was well before the Me Too movement. I remember waking up one day and thinking, I'm going to be my own boss. I'm
Yes.
going to go be a broker. I'd already taken the broker's course, and so I was working at this brokerage firm, and that's where I was there for 5 years, saved enough for my house, but that's
Yeah.
where I met my husband. And it's been amazing. We have two beautiful children. They're 15 and 16.
Lovely.
And so seeing them now with their cousins and their aunts and uncles, it's actually only since I had kids that I've realized how much maybe we missed out growing
Yeah,
up, and
yeah.
the importance of that extended family.
Extended family, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, in your case, it was by your mother's choice. I mean, she had no other choice. It just happened.
Yeah.
In our case, our mother chose to just take her children and go away.
Oh,
so
wow.
we were never very close to any of our cousins or anything like that.
So you can relate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly can.
Yeah.
And like your mother, my mother was a very strong woman
Yeah.
and raised all her children after my father passed away. So it is women, very powerful women who, inspired their children
Yeah.
to be the way they are.
Yeah, and I think that for me, championing women and women's issues, it's probably
Yeah.
comes from that,
Oh,
right? Seeing such a strong
100%,
woman.
100%. Now, when you married him, is he of the? Because it's a question that I ask everybody. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Was mom okay with that?
Yeah, so he's Greek, and I always actually grew up thinking, oh no, like I could never marry outside of the culture.
Yeah.
But when I met him shortly afterwards, I went through a bad sickness.
Right.
Was very sick, and he used to drive me home to see my mom every weekend. He was just my friend at that time. But I think that over that time, because it was a period of a couple of years, I think, by the time we got to the point of marriage, no, she was completely on board. And
wow.
and that's, I think, some of those learnings, right? You realize that at the end of the day, your parents just want to see you happy.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
They do really. So now you're a mother of two. I want to talk about, your work, your children, and how do you look after everything.
Oh, boy.
So let's take a short break
Sure.
and come back. Loveena Chera is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. It's getting very interesting now. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Loveena Chera is our Woman in Focus today. So You married a Greek guy.
Yes.
So you must love Greek food.
I do love Greek food.
I love it too.
But
Yes.
I'm a vegetarian.
So am I.
Oh, but for those first few years we were together,
Yeah. All you
it
ate was Greek salad and spanakopita.
it was like my big fat Greek wedding where, the meal would show up and the potatoes would be cooked in the lamb. I'm like, I can't eat those. But the cultures are so similar, right?
is.
Like so family focused,
Yes.
passionate,
Yes.
loud. And so a lot of the culture is based around food. So a lot of similarities, actually. Yeah.
So you have 2 kids. Let's talk about them.
Oh, my pride and joy. So
course.
my daughter is 15, grade 10, and boy, she's just such a strong personality. And when I look at her, I think, boy, if I was like you at 15, like I would have been even so much further in life because, I see girls now at that age and they feel like they can do anything.
Yes.
And nothing's going to stop her. And it makes me really proud to see her like that. She stands up for what she believes in. She's got strong values. And so, yeah, I
Guess
think
who's
she's going
given
do well.
them to her?
I hope my family, yes, all of us. And my son is just the most caring, sweet individual, grade 11. So
Yeah.
just getting ready for everything that comes after high school.
Wow.
He does so much volunteer work for us at Inspire Health, is constantly asking me when he can get involved next. And just a really caring human being.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Do you, like Indian parents, want their children to be very successful and get into certain jobs? Do you have some aspirations?
No.
No.
But at the same time, you see in your children their strengths.
Yes.
Right? And so with both of them, there's those things that we've seen since they were quite young. And so I think it's a matter of encouraging those strengths that you see, but in a way that they realize that they're
Right.
their strengths as well.
Right.
So no, I mean, ultimately, I think, like I said before, we just want to see them happy.
And they are going to make their life, from the experiences they have had as a child growing up and
Yeah.
looking at the world that is today. It's not the same world as you and I,
Yeah.
or when I grew up, or your mother and then you.
Yeah.
It's totally different
It's
world.
totally different. And I really strongly feel as, women who get into leadership roles, it's our responsibility to make things better for the next generation.
100%.
And change policies, make it easier, give women the flexibility that they need to be moms, to, be partners, and still have successful careers.
Right.
I had to fight for that.
Yes.
My entire career.
Right.
And now I have the ability to change that for those that come after me.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So where do you see Inspire Health?
Well, Inspire Health, we see growing and
Right.
reaching more and more people.
Right.
We think our virtual platform is really important because what it does is it breaks those barriers of access. So
Right.
now we're able to support communities that are underserved, rural and remote communities across the province. And so, there's no cost barrier, there's no
Right.
geographic barrier. And I think that is a really important part of our future.
For an NGO, how do you raise funds?
It's hard. We raise funds through our incredibly generous community. We opened up our Kamloops Center, and it's pretty much funded by the community.
Wow.
And that's how valuable these services are.
Of course they are.
And they're life-changing, and patients tell us that every day.
More power to you, because people like you who think for the future is what we need right now.
Yeah.
We can live in the present all the time that we want to, but the future is something that we have to build.
Well, and we have to think differently about it. Knowing where our healthcare system is, knowing that the money isn't just sitting there waiting for us to put these programs in place. So we have to think outside of the box.
Right.
And that's, I think, what we've been doing at Inspire Health is, formulating those partnerships with communities,
Right.
and the communities are stepping up.
If people wanted to know more about Inspire Health,
Inspirehealth.ca is
Okay.
our website, and that's the best place to go to learn about our programs.
Right.
You can get started there. You can register for free and get started, and you can also donate there.
lovely, lovely, fantastic, Loveena. I'm so glad that I got to meet you.
I'm so glad I got to meet you finally after all these years.
One of these days, I probably would like you to come and talk on radio
I would love
about
that.
all these services. And I wonder sometimes that our community has got issues with diabetes, issues with heart, and now I see a huge uptick in cancer as well. Is it our food? Is it our diet? Is it the way we think? Is it all the stress that we are going through? What contributes to all that?
It's probably a bit of all of that, but in BC also it's our aging population.
Right.
So right now we're seeing about 35,000 new diagnoses every year, and that number is going to go up to 45,000 in just a few years.
Wow.
And then people are living longer now with cancer.
Yes.
So there's probably about 200,000 people living with cancer in the province at any given time.
Sometimes I feel that when people are not well and they have terminal disease, and cancer has gotten out of that now, but it used to be a terminal disease, right? I mean, you're going to die. That's it, period, dot. Why doesn't the government make it easier for people who are suffering to be able to leave this planet and go?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. I mean, I do think that there are those services that are available to patients that need those, and probably in British Columbia, learning about those are even a little bit easier than in other parts.
In other provinces.
Yeah, in other countries. So it's a tough question. I don't know if there's any easy answers to that.
There isn't.
Yeah.
Nope. But I want to take this opportunity and thank you so much for coming and being our Woman in Focus today.
Thank you so much.
Loveena Chera has been our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back.